Joy99.7 FM.
Who are you to judge me like say you the only pass? I didn't love my life, get my peace of mind, better try survive.
That's right. If you want your peace of mind,
And my happiness comes first.
you can get that with Virtual Security Africa. Visit them on www.virtualsecurityafrica.com or call them on 055-8740-764. They bring you ultimate health this and every Sunday, 2:05.
I pass it doctor.
99.7 FM.
I be like, tell me later. I deliver. I pass it doctor.
All right, we'll try and deliver past the doctors, but I got a doctor in the studio. From one king promise to another, my songbird. I love that boy from Nungwa. Yeah, he promises, he delivers, and he's always clean, In the studio, well, I got another doctor.
You know
I don't know whether he's a Terminator. Dr. Peku of the Veterinary Services Directorate. He's the Metro Veterinary Officer for Tema. He joins us in the studio as we talk about anthrax and more. All about anthrax disease. Your own Ultimate Health, Joy 99.7 FM. We're talking about anthrax. The latter parts of May 2023, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Ghana Health Service declared reports and confirmation of an anthrax outbreak in the Upper East, if I'm right, Binduri and Talensi. Yep. Let's say roughly about a month onwards, they lifted the ban they subsequently imposed. So the ban was on the movement of ruminants, cattle, and all that within that area and beyond. That coincided with the observation of the Ramadan, where we're particularly concerned about animals, their health, and food safety, right? So today we're going to be learning about anthrax, what it is, right? How it affects us, how it affects animals, what was done specifically to contain the outbreak, and how assured can we be that we're safe, and what are the measures and directives put in place. So, Dr. Peku, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm on a high note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you for having us.
Right, great. I've been looking into the functions and the mandate of the VSD.
Yeah.
There's so many things that the Veterinary Services Directorate is supposed to be doing to protect us. Yeah. And from time to time, I'll be yanking you and other representatives to educate us on the things you do to protect us. But let's stick to anthrax.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bacterial infection, quite rare but severe. Can you bring us to speed on what it is?
Okay. Thank you so much once again, and good afternoon to all your cherished listeners. So, anthrax is one of the zoonotic diseases, and if I say zoonotic, these are diseases that can move from animals to humans, and anthrax is one.
Right.
And it runs a very short course. So medically, we say it's a per-acute infection, meaning that when you have the infection, it can take some few hours to maximum 2 to 3 weeks, and then clinical signs starts.
Okay.
Anthrax is also caused by a bacteria that is called the Bacillus anthracis.
Right.
And I say that this is one of the rare bacteria you can ever have because of the nature. It actually exists in two forms.
Right.
A vegetative form, which is an infective form, which normally is in a human being or an animal.
Okay.
And then once it comes out...
Vegetative means it's active.
Yes.
Right.
And it's causing the
disease and the symptoms.
Yeah, exactly. Once it moves out, there's a protective covering that covers the bacterial, or it changes its form and have a protective covering, which is called the spores.
The spore, that's right.
And that is what persists in the environment for several years, even up to 100 years.
Right. So my reading tells me that these spores are present normally in the soil and stuff around us.
Exactly.
Right. And this in this form,
Yeah.
right, in the spore form, it can last for decades.
For decades.
In the soil, and that means that the kind of animals we are concerned about
Yeah.
are normally exposed to this.
Exactly.
Or potentially exposed to this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that the spores preserve the organism in an inactive form, and one thing is that the spore is very resistant to harsh environmental conditions,
Okay.
disinfectants, especially when it gets a soil that has a pH, or maybe we call them the alkaline soils.
Okay.
A pH from about 5 to about 9 is very comfortable, and it stays there.
Okay.
And it's waiting for a host to enter.
All right.
So once you have probably rains, or animals are grazing very low, grazing very low,
Okay.
and they get in contact, the spore either enters through their mouth, either through their nostrils,
Okay.
or sometimes if you have a break of skin, especially in a break of skin,
All right.
these spores can enter.
Okay. So essentially, one thing we're learning here is that we should be concerned about where these animals are grazing, the conditions prevalent in those areas, and particularly from what you're saying, during maybe certain seasons where the conditions are more conducive for these spores to now transmit or move to a host.
Exactly.
Okay.
So once there are rains, or probably the graze low, so you can see the trend that these outbreaks mostly come when the onset of the rainy season, when probably they are flooding and all that.
Okay.
So it carries it, and then when probably these animals are having their water in communal, maybe streams or something,
Okay.
they pick the spores.
Okay.
But these spores are normally come into the environment when an animal dies of it, and maybe accidentally someone opens the animal. You have a lot of these spores coming.
Okay.
Or when you have an active case, normally when they die, you have fluids coming out from their orifices.
Okay.
It can be their nose, their mouth, their anus, and all that.
Okay.
So once it happens that from their rectum, so once it happens that way, it contaminates the soil around that place.
Okay.
And once the vegetative form is exposed to air, the spores are formed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. If you just joined us 16 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy99.7 FM. My name is Nortey by nature. I host Ultimate Health here every Sunday, 2:05, brought to you by Virtual Security Africa. I'll tell you a bit about them in a second. We're in the studio with Dr. Peku from the Tema Veterinary Services Directorate. He's the Metropolitan Officer for the Tema area. And we're talking about the recent anthrax outbreak in the Upper East region. It's been controlled. I'll read out the Ministry of Food and Agriculture's press release lifting the ban, but we need to learn about anthrax and convince ourselves that we are safe, and then also be party and privy to all the precautionary measures and directives that have been put in place. If you have any questions, concerns, we're live on Facebook and YouTube, and you could WhatsApp us on 055 11 11 997. And shortly, I will activate the phone line so you can ask the questions directly yourself. Now, remember, Ultimate Health is brought to you by Virtual Security Africa, a Ghanaian company with 15 years experience in providing integrated electronic security solutions such as CCTV, access control, intruder alarm, fire alarm, electric fences, and many more. VCA provides cutting-edge solutions to meet the security needs of its customers with lifetime after-sales support. You can locate them in Accra, Tesano behind Alive Chapel, their showroom at Jowulu, first floor, Nana Adepa Plaza, Kumasi, Santasi roundabout opposite the Goil Fuel Station, and in Takrady on the Kintampo Road. Visit them at www.virtualsecurityafrica.com or call them on 050-331-4068 or 055-851-9839. VSA, Virtual Security Africa. They bring you Ultimate Health this and every Sunday at 2:05. Right, coming back in the studio, so we understand these are the conditions that can give rise to an anthrax outbreak.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try and get an understanding. So let's say this process has taken place and an animal or animals have become contaminated or infected with these spores. How will the farmer or the handlers, the keepers of these animals know that these animals have anthrax before we get to diagnosis and all that?
Thank you so much. So, one key thing about anthrax is that so once the spore goes inside, it releases or it germinates and becomes the vegetative form or the infective form comes, and then now it affects almost every system of the body, and particularly depending on where the spore passed, it will present a specific clinical sign.
Okay.
So one thing is that it runs a very short course. So once an animal dies...
Can you just break that? Now, when you say it runs a short course, are you saying that the symptoms will show quickly?
Quickly.
Okay.
So we have a per-acute form where if an animal takes the spore, it can take like 6-10 hours and the animal dies.
Okay.
So in that case, you have a very big animal. Most of the time you have the bulls, the big ones, those that probably take a lot of food at a time.
Okay.
You know how cattle they feed.
Right.
They use their tongue. They are not so selective in picking, unlike the...
They pick everything and then
everything.
the digestive system has to handle it and take out the nutrients.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So once they pick, so mostly it happens to very fat animals and all that. So once they pick, within about 6-10 hours, that particular animal is dead.
Wow.
So most of the time, anthrax is characterized by sudden death. An animal is very healthy, and then within the next few hours or next few days, the animal dies.
Right.
And once the animal dies, we have something we call septicemia. So the bacterial moves through the cells and it spreads throughout the whole body.
Right. So a process of infection
exactly.
within the body or the carcass of this dead animal.
Exactly.
Right.
And because of that, it causes hemolysis of the blood, the vessels, the blood cells, and all that. So at the end of the day, you have blood oozing out from the natural orifices, from the mouth. It can come from the rectum, or it can come from various places.
You have fluids and other things from the dead animal, the carcass.
Exactly.
Right. Releasing more of the spores.
So it releases the vegetative form.
Right.
And then once it comes out, it needs air to act to help it form the spore.
Okay. Right.
Good.
So by releasing these fluids, right, into the environment,
it contaminates the area around where the animal stays.
And then also the spores become active.
So the spore is inactive. And that's and it can stay in the environment for several years.
Okie dokie. So this poses a risk to humans within close proximity handling these animals.
Exactly.
Other animals.
Exactly.
And other sources of grazing and fluids or water for these animals, feed, etc.
Yes.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. So once you see that most of the time these carcasses will bloat or become quite big.
Right.
And then one key thing about anthrax is that normally the clotting factors are destroyed. So most of these fluids that will come out, the blood will not clot.
Right.
So the blood is still fresh.
Okay.
So once the contamination comes, so assuming somebody goes and probably is going to dissect or comes in contact with such fluids. If he has a cut, he can have the cutaneous form. Yeah. If probably he consumes the meat, you have the enteric form.
Right.
Exactly. And then once the spore is formed, you can, in fact, the spore can be formed after an hour or even more, depending on.
So you can also inhale it.
Exactly.
We'll come to the types in a sec. Thank you, Doc. If you just joined us, 22 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. We're talking about anthrax in the wake of the recent, thankfully well-controlled outbreak in the Upper East region. I have a veterinary doctor in the studio, Dr. Peku. He's with us. Let me take a word from my sponsors, Virtual Security Africa. And when we come back, I will read the press release from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture lifting the ban, and then more importantly emphasize the directives, and then we'll put our discussion in context. If you want to WhatsApp us, 055 11 11 997. This is Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM, live on Facebook and YouTube. Stick and stay.
Virtual Security Africa is your number one provider of a complete integrated electronic security solutions and services in Ghana and Africa. Trust me, from CCTV surveillance, access control systems, intruder and panic alarms, fire alarm systems, physical security and inspection systems such as X-ray scanners, vehicle boom barriers, road blockers, etc. And they even have public address and intercom systems and many other facilities for your homes, offices, and even large enterprises. VSA offers a lifetime after-sales support. Call VSA today on 0548 740 764 or visit their showroom at Nana Adepa Plaza, Jolu, opposite the UBA, or visit their website at www.virtualsecurityafrica.com. Virtual Security Africa, complete security solutions.
Joy 99.7 FM.
You're welcome back to Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Nortey by Nature. We're talking about anthrax. Any questions, concerns about the food, the meat you consume, its safety in the wake of this controlled outbreak? You can WhatsApp us on 055 11 11 997. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. In the studio with me, I have Dr. Peku from the Metro Office of the VSD, Veterinary Services Department, to take your questions. Okay, let me just quickly read out the statement from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Lifting of ban on the movement of ruminants and donkeys, slaughtering, sale and consumption of meat and meat products in the Upper East region. So a specific, right? On the 31st of May 2023, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture imposed a ban on the movement of ruminants, donkeys, slaughtering, sale and consumption of meat and meat products in the Binduri district of the Upper East region. This followed reports and confirmed cases of anthrax, an acute bacterial disease transferable from animals to humans. The situation has since been contained with no recorded case of the disease since the 14th of June. In view of the above and based on expert advice, the ban on the movement of ruminants in the Upper East region is hereby lifted today, Tuesday, 11th of July, 2023. Notwithstanding this directive, that's the lifting, the following measures will apply and be strictly enforced. The slaughter of animals should be under close supervision of the veterinary and environmental health officers at designated abattoirs and slaughter slabs. We'll get a sense of what that means. Food vendors, restaurants, owners, butchers will be arrested and prosecuted for the sale of meat and meat products of animals whose slaughtering was not supervised by the officers specified above. All dead animals should be promptly reported to the veterinary or environmental health officers as well as people in authority for immediate investigation. At all costs, the public is advised to desist from eating the meat of animals found dead. As a precautionary and proactive action, the following activities will continue, which means they are already in force, right? Vaccination of animals against the anthrax disease, intensification of surveillance of animal and human anthrax cases, and sensitization of the general public on the prevention of anthrax. The ministry takes the opportunity to thank all stakeholders for supporting the relentless effort to bring the anthrax disease under control and urge the sustenance of the spirit of cooperation. Signed by the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Brian Achampon. Okay, so back in the studio, Doc. So these are the actions that were taken.
Yeah.
With regard to the outbreak, I do recall a certain number of animals died.
Yeah.
And then a certain number were considered infected.
Yeah.
Right? And then there was one confirmed human casualty. Can you just update us on those?
Okay. So we have almost about 13 to 15 districts that had the cases.
Okay.
So we have 13 human involvement, which one died.
Right.
But regarding the animals, we have 8 confirmed cases. Yeah. But we had more suspected cases. But as at the 13th of June, they had confirmed 8 cases. And all these cases were in bovine or cattle. If you look at the trend, it's actually it's all the cases were actually in bovine or in cattle.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's only cattle that can get it.
Okay.
You have sheep, goats, horses, pigs, and all that.
Okay.
Also susceptible to the anthrax.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me just
organism.
confirm for my listeners. Welcome, Oye Nafionya. I see you're on live. Many thanks for staying with us. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. Any questions you have about meat you consume? How will you know if the animal from which that meat came has been vaccinated and is safe, etc., etc.? Right? In other parts of the world, you see a certain stamp on meat products and other things. I don't know what pertains here. We'll get into that in a sec. Right? And of course, good afternoon to my good buddy Richard Osei Anani. Yeah, like you said, life is short. Enjoy to the max, my brother. Okay, so we've got these details.
Yeah.
You mentioned 13 human impacts.
Yeah.
1 fatality.
Yeah.
Confirmed to be due to anthrax.
Yes.
Okay.
So, looking at the history our colleagues gave us, so they were working in a community where they actually heard that 2 people have been rushed to a nearby hospital
Okay.
for consuming a dead carcass.
Okay.
And they have swellings, and then they have other swellings on their faces.
So they took advantage of the death of this carcass, didn't want to
Exactly.
waste the meat,
Yes.
and proceeded.
Exactly. You know, anthrax will always, most of the time, affect very, very huge animals.
Right.
That's probably
You wouldn't want
it's
to throw
not
away.
exactly. So you still want, and sometimes if you go to the communities, they believe that they have concussions to be able to
Protect themselves.
but they don't know that. In fact, there are so many diseases that can present itself like anthrax.
Right.
It could be snake bite, it could be lightning strike, it could be other bacteria
Okay.
that will present itself in a similar way.
Right.
So sometimes when they consume those meat and nothing happens, they feel that it's same like anthrax. But for
Was
anthrax,
that the case for all the 13 human cases? Were they related to this one dead carcass?
no. So
Because the reason I'm asking this,
Yeah.
just for better clarity when you're responding,
exactly.
is that I know you can't get it from person to person.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It's not contagious in that way,
Yes.
right? But you can have it pass from animal to human.
Exactly.
But I can't give it to you if I have it.
yes.
That's my understanding.
yes.
So the other human cases.
These were all people that consumed the meat.
Okay.
So these first 2 were rushed, and thankfully one was saved, but the other passed on.
Okay.
You know, I said it depends on how severity and the amount of the bacteria you take in,
Okay.
and all that. So and of course it's due to the prompt response from the Ghana Health Service. In fact, they did very well by managing the people.
So does this suggest that we must have
Yeah.
in place, and from the press release and the response and the control outcome,
Yeah.
we must have a very robust surveillance system. People must be speaking to your directorate, must be speaking to the health authorities, and so on and so forth. These must be reported.
Yeah. In fact, I always say that
Let me commend the officials in the areas, Talensi and the districts involved,
Yeah.
because obviously not only was it reported, but there was a prompt response.
Exactly.
Especially and particularly at the time of the Ramadan celebrations approaching, and restricting the movement, slaughter, and so on and so forth, and consumption of meat products.
Yeah. Oh, in fact, I must say that our colleagues. So you can see that the One Health concept really worked very well with this very case, because you have people from veterinary services, the environmental, the medics, and all that. They all came together, and the other partners, the RCC, the media, and all that.
Okay.
They all played very key role in containment of the anthrax. So you can see in the front lines where the environmental health services are helping to probably excavate and then dig, and then and bury these carcasses, and samples were taken. But a lot of contact tracing was actually carried out.
Yeah, I'll come to those in a sec, right?
Exactly.
Let me just make sure that my listeners know that they are involved in this. We're live on WhatsApp, 055 11 11 997. We can take your questions, experiences, concerns. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. And let me activate the phone line, 0302 221 6541. You can call in and ask your questions. But let me ask this, because this is a serious thing. Indeed, in 2000 or 2001, it was used in bioterrorism in the U.S. Some letters were mailed to some specific prominent people which were infected deliberately with the anthrax spores. Okay, they managed to avert or control many of these things. So we're not joking with something insignificant. This is a big thing. If allowed to, spread and contaminate or infect animals and human beings. So we're not joking with this at all. I also read in my research that, people export animal hides, skins, and so on. And even those who make drums and instruments with animal skin, right, have been exposed in some countries. So this is a serious thing. And it's not just the consumption or rearing of livestock. It's very, very serious. Okay. Right. So we've got these cases. We've talked about the response of the system. Okay. We know you can get it through a skin lesion. Right. That's the cutaneous type. You can consume and get a gastrointestinal, or is it enteric?
Yeah, it's same.
It's the same thing. So
enteric.
in the same way you are taking in the spore, it becomes active.
Exactly.
And then you can also inhale.
Yes.
Whoa.
And that was what was used in the Bioterrorism Act. And if you read that story very well, about 5 people died.
Yep.
And I must say that if you look at the anthrax itself, it needs a collective effort to be able to contain it. And one good thing that we have is that, okay, though we've not gotten to the prevention, but the veterinary services has a lab that produces this vaccine in the country.
Right.
And but that was the vaccines that they used to contain it.
We have the capacity to produce the anthrax vaccine.
Exactly.
For both humans and animals?
No, it's for animals specifically.
Right. But there is a vaccine for humans.
Yes. So now...
And then an antitoxin.
Exactly.
Right.
So you know that the concentration now is on the animal aspects, because these are where we get the infection from.
Okay.
So one key thing that is really hindering the control is basically when it comes to logistics wise.
Okay.
In fact, most of the time when you are we should have a set up fund for some of these emergencies. In fact, if you look at what our colleagues did back in the upper east,
right,
a lot of people had to do sacrificial job to be able to contain this.
Okay.
Working in community sometimes without probably fuel and other things, but they needed to save lives.
We got it underhand. We'll come to those in a bit, right? Again, let me announce the phone line is active, 0302216541. We're talking about anthrax and in the wake of the recent anthrax outbreak in the Upper East region. Thankfully, it has been controlled. The ban on the movement, sales, slaughter, consumption of animals in that district has been lifted by the designated Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And we're looking at the directives and instructions that are supposed to be adhered to and enforced. Particularly and specifically, let me read the part which says that owners, food vendors, restaurants, owners, butchers will be arrested and prosecuted for the sale of meat and meat products of animals whose slaughtering was not supervised.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come to that and the capacity, because already Dr. Peku is going into the area of constrained resources, and we'll talk about that. If you have any questions, concerns, share with me. How do you know that the meat you patronize or the butcher's shop or facility you patronize is observing all of these? Of course, you don't know where the meat came from. You ask for pork, you ask for beef, or whatever, it's there. You're interested in the weight and the price. Okay? And so how do you know these things, and how does the VSD, alongside other agencies, protect you? If you have any questions, concerns, you can call us 030-221-6541 or WhatsApp us on 055-1111-997. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM.
Joy 99.7
Okay,
FM.
Doc. So we've got these things happening, right? So in the case of the Binduri outbreak, the recent outbreak, a report must have been made.
Yeah.
How do we confirm that it is anthrax? You mentioned lightning, snake bites, and other things that can happen to animals and cause them to die abruptly,
Yeah.
right? How is it confirmed? I know there must be a robust laboratory response. How is it confirmed?
Thank you so much. So the first thing that we look at is the history, the sequence of death.
Okay.
And then secondly, samples are taken. Normally, we don't open an anthrax or a dead carcass.
Okay.
If it's a livestock, we have to do an anthrax test first.
Okay.
So a blood is taken from probably the jugular vein, or sometimes we do a small incision on the facial vein, take
Okay.
blood. We do microscopy. And now,
Can I assume
Yeah.
on behalf of my listeners, can I assume that you've taken possession of this carcass?
yes. So
You go and take this carcass.
no, okay. So
Or-
now, what we always advise is that if an animal dies,
Right.
you don't move the animal, especially when it is cattle, sheep, goat, pigs. You don't
Okay.
move it, because assuming it's a positive case, wherever you move it, you spread.
Okay, you don't
the-
move it, you don't bury it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what we do is that we take the sample first,
Okay.
and then once we take the sample, we have about 2 tests that we can do. We have a normal microscopy test that we do,
Okay.
and then
These are laboratory-based tests. You're not
laboratory-based
coming
tests.
there with a rapid test on the scene.
no,
You have to take the sample to a
take
lab.
some, yes.
Okay, right.
And then we also do a PCR, which is a molecular test to be able to confirm.
Okay.
So these are the 2 things
How
we
quickly
actually
can
do.
that be done, and how quickly can you tell us that was done in this instance, for
So
example?
that is the challenge. So if in fact the normal microscopy can take maximum probably 30 minutes
Okay.
for you to finish the test.
All right.
30-40 minutes you should be done. The PCR can take about 2-3 hours depending on how
So
the
you should be
process
able to
goes.
confirm
Within a
diagnosis
day.
of anthrax within hours.
Yes,
if
within
all
hours.
things being good.
Yes, with all things being equal.
Okay.
Yeah, but the problem will now come to the capacity of our labs, because as it is now, it's only Pont Tamale and few other labs, Pont Tamale, Accra, Kumasi, that can confirm.
So we have very few labs across the country that can confirm.
Exactly.
Okay, so whatever it is means that from whichever site, this sample must be transported very quickly
Exactly.
because of the potential of an outbreak and a spread,
Exactly.
right? To a lab
A lab.
with the capacity.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Now, in cases like the Binduru and that Napa East case, once you have a history of a sudden death, once even you take the sample, the appropriate measures are put in place.
Right.
Nobody is allowed to touch the carcass. We are not allowed to open the carcass, and if possible, at least we have to dig as soon as possible, because now you cannot consume.
You
any
have to
dead.
bury that carcass.
You have to
Once
bury
you've taken
the sample.
The sample.
Exactly.
What happens to the other animals, the human beings on site? Do you lock down the place? Does it become a ground zero? What happens?
Okay, so once you dig, we advise that you dig no less than 6 feet.
Who digs?
So that is also another challenge. They
Right.
have to employ people to dig, or they have to use an excavator, but it depends on the availability.
So is that the responsibility of the responding agencies?
Yes, so if you look at the One Health team, the assembly and all these people, all the stakeholders, they are supposed to support.
Okay.
So that is why we
So
are saying
the
that
farmer, the owner, cannot dispose of this animal or bury it.
in fact, anthrax is one of the reportable diseases, and such disease, it becomes a national concern.
That is why I'm proceeding from the point that this has been confirmed, it has
Yes.
been identified.
Yes.
I'm looking at the subsequent responses.
Exactly.
So, yes, I'm a farmer, I'm a private person, I own this animal.
Yes.
Right? Anthrax has been confirmed.
Yes.
What is supposed to be the responsibility of the agencies? I know we have One Health, they're
Yes.
supposed to cooperate. What is supposed to happen?
Yes, so appropriate communication is carried out, because one, the farmer cannot use the animal,
Okay.
and once the animal is safely buried, what is supposed to be done next is probably sensitize the whole community,
Okay.
and then we do what we call a ring vaccination, not less than 8 kilometers radius from the place where the incident happened.
Okay.
Or 8 kilometers radius, because that's the distance animals can not normally
So what
go
you're
and-
saying,
Yeah.
Doc
Yeah.
Peku, is that you're going to vaccinate animals within a specified radius of where the case was identified and confirmed
as soon as possible.
of all animals.
Yes.
As soon as possible. Right. In the ideal case, what does this mean? How soon?
Yes. So
forget about the fact that you may not have resources and capacity. In the ideal case, what should happen?
So in the ideal case, it's the same thing that should happen. So that is why anthrax, you don't even wait.
No. What you're not getting, I'm saying you've said as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I want to specify that now. If we're really serious about containing this, we've been successful.
Yeah.
Right? We've announced a lift of the ban.
Yeah.
So we as laypersons assume we're safe.
Yeah.
Right? Persons in Binduri district and so on assume they're safe, right? And that the scare or the spread, let me use the words properly, the spread or the outbreak has been successfully averted and controlled.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I'm asking what would be done and what has been done. So in the ideal case, how quickly should this response be? Because I know some people have what do they call them now? Animals that roam and go and graze.
Yes.
Far afield, and then they are brought back home, right? And
Yeah.
so you do your 8 kilometers or whatever. So that's why I'm asking about this.
Okay. So the ideal situation is that anthrax vaccination should be done every year.
Okay.
So whether we have an outbreak or not,
We should be vaccinating
the
these
vaccination
animals.
should, yes.
Okay.
So if you look at the recommendation as part of the ongoing process, they are still vaccinating animals within the region and beyond.
Okay.
So all these things, and then now you
You can
ensure-
confirm that it's ongoing.
Yes, it's
All right.
ongoing.
If you're
In fact, the
listening to
stats are
us
going,
and
yeah.
you're anywhere in the Upper East and other areas, just let me know if you are aware of any vaccination going on. Let me quickly read this from Francis Hayford in Bato. Good afternoon, Nortey. Please, how are you and the doc? Please ask the doctor that what is the lifespan or the temperature at which the bacteria live, even when the meat of the affected carcass is not well cooked. Is it still alive? I know there's a danger when it is poorly or undercooked. Doc can explain that. In the environment, we've said it. It can live for years, decades. Okay,
yeah.
that's where the danger is. If you have any questions, concerns, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. Greetings, Mr. Nortey Dua and Ultimate Health team. Please, what happened to a lion? What happened to a lion after eating meat? A lion, okay, infected with anthrax. Please, what brought about the swollen faces of the humans? Okay, this is from Papa Solo or Pa Solo in Sunyane. He seems to know something happened to the human cases.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doc will address that. Thank you, Papa Solo in Sunyane. This is from Eric. It says, hello, Ultimate Health. I have 2 questions for the discussion. With the bacteria being in the soil, is it possible for it to enter and contaminate our water bodies? I think we mentioned water sources, both surface and underground. If stray dogs eat the carcass of the infected animal, can they transmit the disease to human beings? Doc, can you take these questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So let me start from the very last one.
Yeah.
So if a dog goes to consume the carcass, we have very rare cases but the dog can also contract it.
Okay.
Now the water bodies we've
Did you say
said,
that would be rare?
yes. So you have every organism needs a particular receptor for it to be.
Okay.
But we have cases.
It's not impossible.
It's
Okay.
not important. Yes,
But rare.
yes.
Okay,
But
understood.
you have cases. So just like the lion, you have cases of these animals when they consume the carcasses.
Okay.
They can also get it, but
Alright.
depending on the time that the consumption went on.
Because a lion
Yeah.
going hunting is not going to check with the
So,
VST whether
so
the carcass-
exactly, because if you look at even lions, normally they wouldn't even go for dead animals.
Alright.
They only want to prey on them. But
Okay.
I probably wanted to find out if these carnivores probably eat, which is very possible.
Okie dokie.
And then there was another
Swollen
question.
faces.
Exactly. So the bacteria produces about 3 types of toxins. We have one we call the edema factor, whereby once it enters the cell, it allows, it causes a lot of fluid to seep into the cells, and that accounts for the swollen phases.
So
or the
edema,
edema,
swelling, or inflammation.
Exactly.
Right.
So
okay.
water gushes out of the cells, and then now it's in the subcutaneous tissue. In fact, that's one of the classical signs of how the toxins present itself.
Okay.
What's the pathogenesis of the toxins?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If you have any questions, concerns, 48 minutes past the hour of 2 hours, 12 minutes to go on Ultimate Health, brought to you by Virtual Security Africa, a Ghanaian company with 15 years experience in providing integrated electronic security solutions such as CCTV, access control, intruder alarm, fire alarm, electronic fence, and many more. They provide cutting-edge solutions to meet the security needs of their clients with lifetime after-sales support. You can locate them in Accra, Tesano, behind their live chapel. They have a showroom at Jolu, first floor, Nana Adepa Plaza. In Kumasi, they are at the Santasi roundabout, opposite the Goil Fuel Station, and Takrady on the Kintampo Road. You can visit them at www.virtualsecurityafrica.com or call them on 055 050 4068 or 055 8519 839. They bring you Ultimate Health this and every Sunday at 2:05.
Virtual Security Africa is your #1 provider of a complete integrated electronic security solutions and services in Ghana and Africa. Trust me, from CCTV surveillance, access control systems, intruder and panic alarms, fire alarm systems, physical security and inspection systems such as X-ray scanners, vehicle boom barriers, road blockers, etc. And they even have public address and intercom systems and many other facilities for your homes, offices, and even large enterprises. VSA offers a lifetime after-sales support. Call VSA today on 0548 740 764 or visit their showroom at Nana Adepa Plaza, Jolu, opposite the UBA, or visit their website at www.virtualsecurityafrica.com. Virtual Security Africa, complete security solutions.
That's right, Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. If it impacts on your health and your well-being, we'll talk about it this and every Sunday, 2:05, courtesy Virtual Security Africa. We're talking about anthrax. This one says, Nortey, you are scaring me, because I thought dog meat was safe. Hey, my BBQ or barbecue dog meat, please confirm if it's safe or not. Dog meat, Doc.
Already said dog meat is not really safe.
Can you tie that in with whether the vaccine is still active when food has been cooked?
Good. So I wanted even to start from there. So remember that we said the spores is very resistant to heat, extreme temperature. So once the spores are formed, you can cook the meat. The spores may still be active. And that is what happens to these people that actually died. So what we are saying is that when an animal dies, it's a no. We shouldn't consume such an animal, especially when we don't actually know what's actually killed the animal. Yeah.
Whether barbecued, spiced, boiled,
and that
grilled.
is even the danger.
All right.
Because barbecue, you don't have the heat entering, and the spore can withstand over 100 degrees and it's still active. It's inactive, but once it goes into you, the vegetative form comes out.
Part of my reading also revealed some concern in other parts of the world about insects and insect bites and anthrax, and then anthrax and drug injecting individuals, right? With regard to anthrax through needle infection. Can you comment quickly on those?
Okay, very good. So normally in the active or the sepsemic form, let's take it an animal gets the infection now, maybe in the next few days or hours. The bacteria multiplies in the body. So when that one happens, we have these biting insects that can suck blood. They pick some of the vegetative form or the active form, and then when they come to bite you, especially the cutaneous form.
Right.
So that is how the cutaneous form can actually be spread, and it has been confirmed in most countries where you have these active cases going on that some of these flies have contributed, but it's mostly the cutaneous form.
Skin type. Right. Okay. If you have any questions, concerns, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. This is serious business. And the phone line is 030-221-6541. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. All right. So let's come to some of the other issues. Very quickly on treatment. We've talked about what happens with regard to human beings. Right?
Yeah.
If they have symptoms, they are handled in a hospital facility. Since it's bacterial, I would presume treatment would consist of or involve antibiotics.
Yes. So if you look at the management, but one key thing is that it runs a very short course.
Okay.
So sometimes the person or the animal dies before even you see the sign.
Okay.
So in cases like this, there are antibiotics, there are protocols that they actually follow because it's a gram-positive bacteria. There are specific antibiotics that you can use with under management, and it comes with a lot of pain because especially the pulmonary form, there's difficulty in breathing and all that. Exactly. There's edema, water, fluid gush out comes into your lungs, and those are the things that actually kill them because of the toxins.
So it's not something you're going to be buying antibiotics over the counter and saying you're treating it.
It will kill it before even so you need to quickly. That is why, as part of the surveillance, once you probably handle meat or you eat anything, you have to quickly go to the nearest hospital for them to manage you.
So, Doc, you handle animals. You work in the field. There are other people who handle and work closely with animals or animal products.
Yeah.
Should such people be routinely vaccinated against anthrax?
Yeah, so if you look at the protocol in endemic areas like the northern part of the country, it would have been good. But as it is now, you don't have the human vaccines in the country. But I think that the key thing that we have now is to vaccinate our animals and ensure that when we are probably slaughtering and all that, we wear protective clothing, which is very key. And I must mention that if you look at our slaughter facilities, ideally we are supposed to have something we call a holding pen, which is called a larage, when these animals can be observed for some of these signs. Because normally when they have anthrax, the first thing that you may see is probably a sharp rise in temperature. And that can be detected and picked.
So you should actually be observing and examining animals presented for slaughter.
Exactly.
And therefore, there should be an officer with the requisite skill and training and qualification sited at these slaughter points.
Yes. In fact, all the slaughter points or the slaughter facilities that we have in the country, we are supposed to have a veterinary officer there, a technician there.
Emphasis on supposed to.
Yes. So they are. Oh, yes, they are in every part of the country. But the one thing is that...
How many slaughter points do you have in, let's say, Tema?
Tema, we have one. We have the Gihok, we have the Accra Abattoir, and then we have a slaughter slab in. So the enclave...
What do we mean by a slaughter slab?
Okay. So we have... The slaughter slab is just a simple facility that can slaughter just about 10 to 15 animals in a day.
Okay.
Then you have a slaughterhouse.
So these must be licensed, registered?
Yes, it's registered.
Are they just community spots?
No, it's registered.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the slaughterhouse can slaughter maximum of 50, and the abattoir can do more.
Okay.
Maybe 100. So it depends on the facility that is available.
Okay. Yeah. Now the directive says that slaughter of animals should be under close supervision of the veterinary and environmental health officers at designated abattoirs and slaughter slabs.
Yes.
Does this mean that you cannot, you should not, you must not slaughter animals at home or anywhere else?
Yes.
Is this illegal? Is it a crime?
Yes, it's a crime and it's illegal.
You buy your goat, you take it home, and you bring your local whatever, or you kill it yourself and you handle it yourself. You're saying that is a crime?
Yes, because when you go and buy an animal like that and you slaughter, and probably it's a suspected anthrax case, and you take it, you can die. So all that we are saying is that we have to make sure that when we buy our animals, we take it to the designated slaughterhouses or facilities for them to be slaughtered. Through that process, we carry out what we call the antemortem. Before the slaughter, we look at signs of ill health, And then after the animals are slaughtered, we conduct a post-mortem to see that whether the animal
on
is
each
wholesome.
and every animal, or
Each
on
and every-
random animals?
Each and every animal.
There's supposed to be an AM and a PM
Yes.
on each and every animal
Yes.
slaughtered at designated points.
Exactly.
All right.
But the AM, sometimes if you don't have a holding pen, you cannot, you will not be able to do.
So realistically, Doc, because this is why I pulled up this directive from the Minister of Food and Agriculture. Do you have the capacity to supervise every single supervised or slaughter at these designated points?
Okay, thank you. So
before we talk about those who are doing it in their backyards and whatnot, and
Exactly.
their chop bars and all that.
So as a country, we need to pay particular attention, especially when we have these emerging diseases coming. We need to pay very particular attention to our slaughter facilities.
Is anthrax emerging? We've known about anthrax.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is the case? Is it that we don't have people with the requisite qualifications employed within the public service and structure to see to this obligation? Let me call it that.
Yes, so the people are there, but the logistics and the facilities are actually not there. If you look at our slaughter facilities, a lot has to be done to upgrade these facilities.
Wow.
Because if you look at the slaughter facility, sometimes it doesn't give you the opportunity to carry out a very good post-mortem or ante-mortem on each animal.
Okay, let me put you on the spot. I know perhaps you may not be able to give me what I'm looking for, but this is a statement signed by the Minister of Food and Agriculture, right? I'll see if I can engage the ministry directly. But therefore, on what basis do we give this confidence that now animals can be moved, all right? It says on expert advice, right? But generally, and in the wake of and before this outbreak, you're saying we lack the capacity to supervise as required.
So
when we say that it will be enforced, and what's the other word? People who fall foul of it will be prosecuted, arrested and prosecuted. What's the basis for that?
So if you look at the outbreak of anthrax, it's mostly in the 5 northern regions. Let me put it in that way. So now, looking at the measures that have been instituted, the vaccination, is also vaccine preventable, the ban on movement and all that. I think that I would say that at this point we are confident because one, almost every animal that is supposed to move, you are supposed to check these animals and give a movement permit.
He's tied cattle on the pickup or whatever. You're saying that they have permission and they have documents.
So they are supposed to have a movement permit. So I have cases where police have intercepted people moving animals without a movement permit.
Right.
Okay, so you need a multi-sectoral approach to be able to do this.
Right. And that is absent at the moment.
Oh, I would say that you have cases where, especially when the anthrax, the cases started or probably when the media picked it up and then it became this year our outbreak started. I think this year anthrax break has actually brought the anthrax to light because we know that every year anthrax, we are having cases in the north and all that, but this year has really brought the case up. So what I want to just emphasize is that looking at the measures that were put in place, the vaccinations that were actually done in almost all the communities, the participation of the One Health team, the surveillance team and all that, it gives us confidence that every animal that passes out through the slaughter facility or something is so wholesome for us to consume.
Okay, right. If you've just joined us, we're out of time. This has been Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We're doing a close dissection of the recent anthrax outbreak and the measures announced by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. I believe we've been able to give you an understanding of the seriousness of the disease, the nature of the disease, signs and symptoms, and how it is managed and contained. Questions still remain with regard to the capacity of the veterinary services and related agencies to enforce the rules. saying that all animals are slaughtered or potentially slaughtered at designated points is like saying all women deliver their babies in hospitals. All right, we have traditional birth attendants, we have clinics, and all sorts of places where babies are dropping. Right, so we need to probably program and support Dr. Peku with somebody from the ministry to look at the full Monty, if I can say that, right? Because they've done well. They've contained this one. They've probably got the data I'll be looking for. But as to whether there's something happening somewhere, and as to whether we continue to slaughter animals that are not duly certified or supervised, that is where there's a question. And we need to look at the capacity in other parts of the system. Okay, like I mentioned, in other parts of the world, you have meat that has a stamp on it, right? That doesn't affect what you eat, right? But there's a stamp on it that indicates it's safe. We are importing meat products, and we are also consuming meat products from all sources. So, Doc, I believe we've got more work to do.
Yes. So, if you come to our slaughter facility, we also stamp the meat after the inspection, and every slaughterhouse has a peculiar stamp that they use.
All right.
So we encourage our listeners that as they go to buy meat, they should ensure that they see the slaughter stamp, and then we also issue certificates for the.
When I'm buying wachi, when I'm buying my pork kebab, I beg you, there is no stamp, and we'll have to look at this alongside the ministry. Many thanks again, Dr. Peku from Tema, Metropolitan Officer, Veterinary Officer in Tema. He's with the Veterinary Services Directorate. We're most grateful, and we commend the teams out there in the Upper East for the work they've done. Right, we've still got work to do. Right, I have big questions with regard to where we are getting our meat, who is supervising, and how safe we are. Okay, because if we don't see the enforcement, then people really, it's nothing to worry about. We've been eating them for a long time. All right, many thanks to my discerning listeners, of course, my producer extraordinaire. As a tennis fan, Charlie, hey, when I look at Alcaraz and Djokovic, Charlie, Joko is on the ascendancy. You can't stop Novak, but let's see how it turns out. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nortey by nature. I've been speaking with Dr. Peku, and I've been produced by Abeku Sankofi. Stick and stay. Don't go nowhere.